Welcome back to What Can Brown Jazz Vinyl. And if you are perceptive, you'll realize that I've slightly rebranded my channel. It is now WCB Jazz Vinyl Collector. And that is because What Can Brown is a relic of my Instagram handle. I've had it for maybe a decade, and I thought I'd bring it here, and it's kind of awkward. So I figured, I don't know, WCB, at least I kind of get the acronym or whatever in from the original. And I don't know, maybe it sounds like a radio station. I have no idea. Probably does with the W. But anyway, that's what it is for now. It's like super easy to change your your channel name, so just know that that's me. So I wanted to cover a couple of things, and actually, I think that this is going to be interesting because it's a couple of things. One is I want to talk about the state of my sort of collecting mentality for 2023. I introduced this a couple of weeks ago when I was talking about how I was going to focus on certain labels this year. And so I wanted to give you an update on how that's going because I've kind of gone a little crazy with it. But first and foremost, I want to cover some new releases that are available on, not all new releases, but things that are available right now on Acoustic Sounds that I think is actually going to be really interesting to some folks out there, at least if you're like me. Two of them I have in, and then two of them are available right now that I think a lot of you are going to want to navigate away from my channel and go buy. So anyway, let me first cover the ones that I have in, just so you stick with me. So firstly, Donald Byrd Quintet Parisian Thoroughfare. So this is a Sam Records release, and it's fantastic. So let me say just a couple of things first about Sam Records. They are a one-man label based in France. Basically, they do these very sort of like basically handmade releases or whatever it seems like, because it's such a small shop, but they always do a good job. They've been picking some stuff lately. I'm trying to think. They've been going after like the Nathan Davis catalog and the Billy Harper catalog. They have a couple of titles from Donald Byrd out there as well. And Parisian Thoroughfare is one. This was originally released on Brunswick, I believe both in Germany and in Paris, or at least the other title. This is like one of two titles that Sam Records reissued, both originally put out on Brunswick. This title has Bobby Jaspar, Walter Davis Jr., Doug Watkins, Art Taylor on it. And it's from 1958. Really great session. Super happy that they put this back in print. And not only did they put it back in print, because I think it was released a little while ago, you can get it now in Acoustic Sounds. And why that's good is because shipping, right? Shipping is atrocious. Acoustic Sounds gets it in. You don't have to pay all of that shipping as if you're ordering it direct from Sam Records. Although keep in mind that for some of these titles that are going to be more sought after, you may not have the opportunity to get it from Acoustic Sounds if it sells out. But anyway, I waited and I got it. And the other thing with this title is it comes with this great insert with what I think is a fantastic cover of Donald Byrd. I would call that frame worthy for anybody who likes to actually put up some of these inserts that come in records. I don't always. I typically just leave them in the record, but that kind of seems silly. Like, why am I holding on to this? Like, the reissue insert is going to, help maintain the value of the reissue. I don't know. I feel like this should be in a frame, and so maybe I will, maybe I won't. But high quality, 180 gram, great inner. Also, it smells like new carpet, and I mean that in a good way. It's like almost that kind of like baseball card, like you just open like a baseball card pack, or it smells like new carpet to me. And I like it. All right. So moving on from that one, and that one probably you might be aware of already. This one maybe not so much, and it is called Urban Grooves by Joe Chambers. Apologize for some glare. I still have it in the shrink here. I know nothing about this. It says Master Sound Press, 180 gram. I have listened to this already. I hate these sticky sleeves. They're impossible. It feels like it's one of those kind of like tip-on style jackets, or at least it's super glossy and laminated. And I listened to it. It's got Gary Bartz on it. That was one reason why I had to get it. I mean, you got Joe Chambers, but you also got Gary Bartz. You have Rufus Reed here on bass, Eric Reed on acoustic piano and synthesizer, and Bobby Sanabria on congas and percussion. And so that is, sorry for the glare, that is what this one looks like. And I knew nothing about it. but I blind bought it, and I'm happy with it. So was just surprised to see that pop up on Acoustic Sounds. Sometimes I just go to Acoustic Sounds if I'm interested in buying something, and then I see what they have. And that is how I found out, all right, this is where you're going to want to open up another browser, but like not navigate away from this one, like open up another one, like another tab. And that is because Quiet Kenny Analog Productions back in print. $40. You can go over to the website. This is the Craft Recordings one, right? Okay, so this is not that. But the Acoustic Sounds one is back in print in stereo right now. It's available. You can go get it for $40. This is one of those titles that Analog Productions put out. They didn't put out enough because everybody wants Quiet Kenny because it's impossible to get an original. And the only other worthwhile ones that I'm aware of, at least up until this Craft Recordings one, were Japanese reissues. And now it's back in print and everybody can get it until it's not in print anymore. And the values are going to go back up to $120 because I think on Discogs right now, not everybody's gotten the word that it's back in print. And so your best bet for getting one of these is spending $100. Unless you go over to Acoustic Sounds website and get it. So I did order it, okay? And even though I have this Craft one, I'm not going to keep both, but what I am going to do is I'm going to compare them. So the other title, see, this is for the folks who then went and got it, and now they're coming back, and now they're going to realize that they should have gotten two in their basket and not just one, because maybe you could have gotten free shipping. The other one that's back in print is Eric Dolphy at the 5 spot. Analog Productions, I'm sure this is mono. There's no way they did it in stereo, right? It's probably the mono copy. This is an original. I didn't go and get this, get the Analog Productions reissue. And that's because, whereas with Quiet Kenny, I don't have an original, this is an original. It's in fantastic shape, and I gotta be honest, even though there's Booker Little on here, Mal Waldron, Richard Davis, Eddie Blackwell, fantastic lineup, live, I just don't listen to it as much. So some people are gonna be really excited anyway about this because they don't have an original. I have an original, it's fine for me. I won't do a shootout on that one, I apologize, but I probably will with Quiet Kenny, and I'll let you know later which one's best. But if you wait until then, it's probably going to be gone. So, all right. Actually, just one more. And this is not on Acoustic Sounds, but it is an update that I wanted to share. And the reason why I wanted to share is because I mentioned it in a prior video. In fact, probably two. One when I was talking about some pre-orders that I was looking forward to. And then another one, well, shoot, I don't know. It was probably just a general announcement type of thing when this was announced. And that is Tarika Blue, self-titled. This is the reissue that I just got in. And so in one of my earlier videos, I mentioned I didn't know if it was a bootleg or if it was an authentic or, you know, like a legitimate release by, I don't want to say the label because I don't think Chiaroscuro is still around, or if they are not in the business of like actually producing vinyl. I still don't know the status, although on the back of this reissue, they have a website that, funnily enough, doesn't even mention the reissue, but it is chiaroscurojazz.org, so you could go check that out. And apparently, there are people like on staff. It looks like there's somebody who's splitting time as the CEO of Chiaroscuro and also doing like radio stuff, maybe for NPR or something. And so anyway, I wanted to mention that it came in. And I'm pretty sure, so two things. One is that you can go to Chiaroscuro and find out that they're actually still around or doing something. And the other is that the drummer on here, a guy named Melvin Speller, his brother is a coworker of mine. I reached out to him. I sent him a picture of this. I was like, hey, is this legit? And he said it was. So it's a legitimate release of, you know, reissue of Tarika Blue's second album, and it's on blue vinyl. So, you know, I don't need it to be on blue vinyl, but it is. And a couple of things. One is that since this came out, somebody reached out to me and said that there actually was another reissue of this a few years ago. It's already expensive. It's tough to get. And the reason why the reason why this is tough to get and why they're going through these reissues is because everybody wants the Jay Dilla sampled track Dreamflower, which, don't get me wrong, is a great track. But anyway, I think that's why there's a lot of hype for this particular record. I'm not a Jay Dilla fan per se. I wasn't even aware of that, and so I kind of just listened to this, and I don't hear any. I don't know what's been sampled and what hasn't, because it just doesn't. Don't recall hearing that version. But what I will say about this is a couple of things, because I'm sure you're going to want to know how it sounds. First of all, it is not as dynamic as their first album that they put out for Chiaroscuro. And this is an original. I don't have an original of this self-titled one, so I can't compare it. The only thing I can do is compare it to their other album for Chiaroscuro, and because I think maybe they have similar recording techniques, and I will say that this other album does sound better than this one. However, what I will also say is that the tracks on this, especially the non-vocal ones, sound really good, and they sound dynamic, and it seems like it's a good pressing. My problem becomes when there are vocalists, which is on track 1 and 2, so it kind of opens up the album, and it doesn't seem like it's this dynamic, and it seems like it's kind of washed out, or like you're listening through a veil. And I here's the thing: I don't know if that's how it was originally sounded on the original pressing, and so I don't know if this is if it's inferior. I will say that overall the album sounds great, but I think that those first couple of albums, when there's a singer, seems to prioritize that singer, and everything else is just kind of like, I hesitate to call it digital in sound, but it definitely doesn't sound as dynamic. I truly do think that it's because they prioritize the singer, and it's probably how the original pressing sounds too. By the time you hit Dreamflower, which is track 3, it actually sounds great. And so, yeah, I mean, I think it's a worthwhile reissue. I will say that the cover material is very cheap. It's not thick whatsoever. It is not tip-on. It's not, textured or anything. It's just kind of it's thin, it's blah. The record is fairly thick. There's no way that this is 180 gram. It's probably 50, 40. I don't have the ability to actually. I have a kitchen scale, but I didn't check it. But it's fine, and it's in blue. So for folks who enjoy that kind of thing, there you have it. This is what the label looks like. So they didn't try to match the original label either, but it is what it is. So it's also cheap. It was like 22 or 24 bucks. I mean, I think if anybody wants to listen to it, you really can't go wrong. But again, for 22 or 24, whatever it was, don't go expecting that it's going to be like audiophile reissue, gatefold, extras, all that kind of stuff, because it doesn't have that. All right, so that's the first part, and moving into the second part of this video, I'm going to talk to you or highlight a few of my purchases since the new year. All right, so the second part of this video, a little bit of a quick fire, almost show and tell kind of format, but basically in a recent video, what I talked about was that in 2023, I saw myself focusing on some of the sort of later 70s and even into the 80s labels, as opposed to some of the really popular stuff, just because I was like thinking about, I forget what I said, but I think it was somewhere around along the idea of, if I want to hear this music, I better get them now, because I believe that the prices may start escalating for some of these labels, and that's because all of this other stuff that's been popular for years has just gotten unaffordable. We've all seen it, and that lack of affordability has definitely moved into some of those labels that put out more music in the 70s, like Muse, like Milestone, etc. So anyway, I wanted to give you an update on some of the titles that I've grabbed, because I'm actually pretty happy with what I've heard so far. Now, don't get me wrong, I've not heard all of these, and you'll see why in just a second, because I really did go kind of crazy. The thing is that I've realized that I could get most of these for like $4 or $5. A product of visiting Atlanta stores and seeing what's been languishing on the shelves for a while, as well as going on to Discogs, finding individual sellers who also, I think, have shops around the country, and I just started adding a ton to my cart so that I could buy from the same seller and then not have to pay a lot for shipping. So the first artist I want to highlight, really a duo, This is a duo, actually, I think that I mentioned in one of my earlier videos, because I found one album at that point that I really enjoyed, and I was like, surely there's others. So first one is, well, and really in this series of ones is George Adams and Don Pullen. So they had a quartet with Cameron Brown as well as Danny Richmond. This is City Gates, and it is on the Timeless Muse label. This is some exciting stuff from 1983. I also picked up Decisions, also on Timeless Muse, the exact same lineup. This is from 1984. What else do we got? Don't Lose Control. This one is on Soul Note, and this is from 1979. Again, the same lineup. We've got Earth Beams. I actually really enjoyed this one. Again, the same lineup. This is also on Timeless Muse, and the time is 1980 on this. I know that there were some people that were saying I was really late to the game. I'm like, it's not like I'm discovering George Adams and Don Pullen. It's just that I hadn't really been listening to their stuff. And only after I heard this George Adams album that I referenced, in another video, did I start like opening my eyes to some of this music. So this other one I found was a little bit different in that it is George Adams. But the lineup, well, it says George Adams, Hannibal. They're referring to Hannibal, Marvin Peterson, and Friends. And the title is called More Sightings. So More Friends includes John Schofield, Ron Burton, Walter Schmacher, and Alan Nelson. And this is a live date from 1984. So, ton of stuff from George Adams. Have not listened to it all. You may think, why did he get so much? But again, they're super cheap. What was I supposed to do? And guess what? On Palo Alto, I found Earth Jones with David Liebman. Who else is on this one? Let me take a look here. Oh, of course, you have Terumasa Hino, George Mraz, Kenny Kirkland. I don't think this is the one that I referenced the other day. Maybe it is. Anyway, Palo Alto Jazz. Here's another one on Palo Alto, although not originally put out on Palo Alto. It was on another label for I think 2 years before this, and then they put it out on this. Same cover, looks almost exactly the same. Anyway, Brother John, you've got Pat La Barbara, Kenny Kirkland again, and Reggie Workman. Just listened to this last night. I really enjoy this record as well. So this later period Elvin Jones stuff is definitely something that is super interesting to me. Also super interesting, Enrico Rava. So I was at a shop in where was I? Gosh, somewhere south of Atlanta. I forget where it was, and I came upon Enrico Rava quartet titled Ah. This is with Franco D'Andrea, and I'm sorry, this is like silver cover, Giovanni Tommaso and Bruce Ditmas. I might have referenced this in a recent finds video, but the reason why I wanted to bring this up again, and by the way, the shop was in Noonan. I now remember it's called Vinylite Records. It's in Noonan, Georgia. The reason why I brought it up is I started looking for more Enrico Rava, and I found this one as well. Great lineup here. This is on ECM. The other one was on ECM as well. And here's another on ECM, The Pilgrim and the Stars. So I found myself really enjoying Enrico Rava. Found that I could get some of these for not much. That one was $15. That's probably the most expensive out of really any of these that I'm going to show you. So what else? One of the things that I said is I wanted to get into records where, say, Joe Henderson was on, Bobby Hutcherson was on, but in the lineup, not as a leader, because they do a good job of finding themselves in situations where they can play great music that kind of highlights their strengths. And so anyway, I found a bunch from Joe Henderson. So this one is by Rick Laird, perhaps, called Soft Focus on the Timeless Muse label. Here you go. It's been reissued with a somewhat similar cover, but slightly different. This is from 1976. Been enjoying that one. Here's one that I didn't enjoy as much, I gotta be honest, and it's by Mal Waldron. And of course I know Mal Waldron. I don't know why it took me looking for Joe Henderson records to find a Mal Waldron one, with David Friesen and Billy Higgins. This one's just a little bit weirder, gotta be honest, but it's on Palo Alto Jazz, and yeah, it's looked interesting. I'm gonna give it some more spins. We'll see how that one sits with me. Here's another one, Richard Davis, called Fancy Free. So this is Eddie Henderson, Joe Henderson, Stanley Cowell, Billy Cobham. And then there's some vocals, I think, on one or two tracks. But this is great stuff. I love almost anything that Richard Davis puts out. And he had a bunch of great titles for Muse. Am I missing anything? No. So a few others. Yeah, I have a few others here. So here's an interesting one, and apologize for the glare. I don't know how to pronounce his name. Here it is, Mr. Hendricks. Here you can hopefully see that, and you can pronounce it in your head. But anyway, Dom Rocket is the name of the record. This particular artist happens to have a record put out around the same time that is really sought after. Haven't found a copy yet, but anyway, this is on Timeless Muse. I previewed this on online and got really into it. And even though I haven't spun these yet, here's another one by the same artist. And when was this put out? Is this also on Timeless Muse? Yep, it's also on Timeless Muse. This is from 1977. So found this one as well. Again, this stuff is like, it seems so easy to get. It's almost shocking because when I find the stuff, I preview it on Discogs or YouTube or whatever, and I'm like, wow, this actually sounds really good. I definitely want to hear all of it. So Mike Knock is another artist who I wasn't that well aware of, I don't think. I'm pretty sure that in a previous video I held up this record, and I really enjoy this, called In, Out, and Around. So I referenced that I was getting into Mike Knock, and I did happen to find this album called Almanac. It was recorded in 1967, perhaps put out a little bit later, I think. Anyway, this is on the Improvising Artists label. And again, this is what it looks like. But yeah, Mike Knock has been pretty interesting to me lately. So a few more here, then we'll close it out. I will try to pronounce this guy's name, Ryan de Graaf. This is Modal Soul. And yeah, another one that I really enjoyed from 1977. This one happens to be on Timeless Muse as well. So again, Timeless Muse, easy to find apparently, especially if you expand your criteria to include online. And then I also found New York Jazz, and this is a great one. You've got Sam Jones and Louis Hayes on this one, as well as Tom Harrell. I think it's Tom Harrell that it's Tom Harrell that I just saw at the Village Vanguard about a month ago or so, or maybe a little bit more than that, something like that. Anyway, it was a fantastic show, and when I saw that he was on this, and thought it'd be fun to get that. All right, just a couple of others. So, Ted Kurson and Company on India Navigation. I mentioned India Navigation is one of those that I wanted to keep an eye out for. You've got Cecil McBee on this one, Steve McCall, Jim McNeely from 1982. What else do I've got? I've got Free Fare. Really enjoy this one as well. Didn't know anything about it. This is also on Timeless Muse. Kind of a fun cover. Check that out though, called Free Fare. Great reverse as well. Eddie Marshall, Dance of the Sun. So Bobby Hutcherson, I said I was going to look out for some Bobby Hutcherson stuff. Came upon this one. I want him to be more on it. I'll say I want this to be a Bobby Hutcherson album, even though it's not. But you also have George Cables, James Leary, and Manny Boyd here on this one. It is from 1977, put out in 1979 on Timeless Muse. Idris Muhammad. I am not the biggest Idris Muhammad fan. I find that some of his stuff is I don't know, it's just not, it's not the style of jazz I guess that I really want. However, when you have George Coleman and Pharoah Sanders on this one, what is not to love? This is on Teresa Records, one of those labels that I said that I was going to be looking for stuff from. And then the last one that I wanted to reference is a somewhat of a hard one to find actually, and it's on Muse, and I happened to come across this one for not too bad of a price. Joe Bonner with Linda Chirac, Junie Booth, Billy Harper, Jimmy Hops, and Leroy Jenkins. And yeah, very worthwhile one on Muse. It has become a little bit difficult to get, but 1976, and was happy to get that. So that isn't quite everything, but that's almost everything. I know that was a lot. I said I was going to focus on these labels, and I have. And I just found myself kept adding more and more things to the cart because it was so affordable. And I figured that if there's any of these that I don't enjoy, listen, I don't have extra room in the shelves. So if there's any of these that I don't enjoy, I'm going to put them up on eBay. So we'll see how that goes. But I'm really excited to have a lot of new stuff to listen to. Thanks for sticking with me. Hopefully some of that early stuff that I covered was interesting to you in terms of some of those records that are available on Acoustic Sounds. Yeah, I guess that's it for now. So thanks for watching. Please hit subscribe. I'll see you next time.